Hey everyone, Scott here.
You, Dustin.
And we are super excited. we are way too excited.
That's my name. And that's his name.
Just in case you're wondering, we're super excited to start this with you guys and to be sharing these videos with you, and then to have our Wednesday night online meetings until we can meet in person. We're going to start out our time by looking through the Psalms. And before we're going to read Psalm 1 together today, I want to give you guys a little bit of an overview of the Psalms so you know what you're reading, okay? Psalms literally means melodies. These are songs. These are worship songs. These were songs that are sung to worship the Lord. Think about, if you've ever read lyrics, I'm sure, of some of your favorite songs. You're reading lyrics, and you're reading lyrics that are used to direct people's attention towards God. One more kind of a trippy thing you'll notice about the Psalms is we read through them. You'll notice that sometimes it sounds like there's two people talking, and it's either crazy or it's call and response. And that's what we're telling you it is. It is a call and response. So when you read through these, you'll literally hear like Dustin talking, for example, and I'm responding to what God's doing for Dustin, or what God is saying to Dustin, or what Dustin is saying to God, and vice versa, okay? So there's that part of the overview. Why don't you add to that, brother?
And then a cool second part of it, we get to see the psalmist come to God with all these different emotions and feelings and questions and doubts, and show us that in everything that we're facing, in everything that they were facing, we can go to God. We don't have to try and figure out on our own, by ourselves, or seek the world's answers to understand these things, but we can draw near to God. And so go from a self-focused way, world-led self-focus, to God-led in His truth and in His perfection.
Awesome. Cool. So we're going to move on that focus as we go on this journey, starting with Psalm number 1. I'll read the first part. I'm reading from the NRSV. Dustin's reading from the ESV. Both remarkable translations. I'm sure your translation is cool too. But here we go. Psalm 1. Happy are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or take the path that sinners tread, or sit in the seat of scoffers. But their delight is in the law of the Lord, and on His law they meditate day and night. They're like trees planted by streams of water, which yield their fruit in its season, and their leaves do not wither. In all that they do, they prosper.
The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish.
Awesome. First thing we want to point out is the very first word of the psalm is happy, or blessed. And it's so important that you understand that happiness or blessedness are directional. It comes from somewhere, and we have a choice to decide what direction it comes from. For us as Christians, that happiness or blessedness always comes from God. The word here is barach, and it's a little different than I would say we use the word happy today, because barach comes to us from God. It's not just feelings, it's a state of being. It's a state of remembering that we are blessed by God. Everything we have is actually and completely and totally from God. And if we remember that, it's actually hard to not be happy or blessed on a particular day when we think about what we have.
And so that's what we get to continue to see happening here as he works from that and goes through the different things. We see a lot of actions, the sitting, the standing, the walking, and then we see a transition to delight. And so we see it go from external to internal and delighting in the law of the Lord, which comes from that state of being blessed in what is going on there. And that comes from having that right understanding of who God is. That's where you're able to be in that state of being blessed, of being happy. And so that right understanding leads to right feelings, which then transforms us to lead into and to walk into right actions from a transformed heart based on the right understanding of who God is and all of He is. And that also is going to continue to be highlighted as it's in the law of the Lord, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah. As we've been going that overview, we saw that, and that is what God has given to reveal who He is and His character and His truth about who He is and how He's created this life, how He's created us, and the relationship that He's created us to be in with Him to His glory. And so walking through those different things, which is crazy because in a lot of ways, that law is also what reveals our imperfection and our inability to walk in what He has called us to, the perfect standard of who He is, and walking in that. And so normally it's like, how can you delight in that? But when we rightly understand Him and see that He is a God who saves from the start to finish, as Scott has talked about, he's always a God who has a plan for salvation, to restore us back to relationship with him that is given by him to be in that blessed state. And so we get to see that. We get to delight in him and those right understandings of him and how we can walk in those right understandings, transformed by his grace.
Awesome. So 2 quick questions for you guys to think about. Remember, we want you watching these videos with your parents. We want you discussing these questions with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, and then bring your answers when we have our Wednesday night meetings, okay? First quick question is this: how would you now explain happiness versus blessedness? Happiness as we think about in the worldly point of view, and blessedness coming from God. Second one.
Also, we want you to be thinking about who is wicked, or what is wickedness. Is that something that we see these contrasting views of blessed and wicked? And so what is wickedness? What does that mean? Be thinking about those, be reflecting on these different paths and the relationships that each of those paths are inviting us into.
Perfect. Really love doing these for you guys, and we're super excited to see you on Wednesday night during the WebEx. May God be with you.
You!